Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The celebration lights of Helios Prime Colony twinkled against the backdrop of twin moons. 50 years of human persistence had transformed this distant world into a thriving settlement housing over 40,000 people. Today marked the colony's golden jubilee, and the central plaza buzzed with festivities. Commander Diana Everett watched from the observation deck of Defense Station Helios, her eyes scanning the celebration below. The colorful parade wound through streets lined with eager spectators, children darting between adults who shared stories of the colony's early days. Quite the view, isn't it? Lieutenant Gabriel Torres joined her at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. Everett nodded, hard to believe it's been 50 years already. Commander, called a voice from the monitoring station. Multiple unidentified objects approaching from the outer system. Everett's celebratory mood vanished instantly. Identification. None, Commander, they're not responding to hails. She moved swiftly to the central console, studying the display that showed 8 large objects moving at high velocity toward Helios Prime. Sound yellow alert. Notify Governor Delacroix immediately. Within minutes, Governor Natalie Delacroix arrived at the command center, her formal attire contrasting sharply with the uniformed personnel around her. What's happening, Commander? 8 unidentified vessels approaching, ma'am. No response to communications. The governor frowned. Could it be a system malfunction? I've run 3 diagnostic checks, Lieutenant Torres interjected. All systems functioning normally. Those ships are deliberately ignoring us. Everett studied the trajectory data. They'll reach orbit in 17 minutes. I recommend activating defensive systems and initiating civilian shelter protocols. On our anniversary, Delacroix hesitated. A warning alarm blared across the command center. Energy spike, shouted the sensor operator. They're powering weapon systems. Everett didn't wait for approval. Sound red alert, all personnel to battle stations. Begin immediate civilian evacuation to underground shelters. The peaceful celebration dissolved into chaos as alarm sirens wailed across the colony. Security forces rushed to direct frightened colonists toward shelter entrances. In her laboratory at the colony's edge, Dr. Vivian Parker looked up from her experimental quantum drive as the alarms began to sound. Through her window, she watched people running for safety. Before she could ask what was happening, a blinding flash lit up the sky. Get to the shelters, Vivian ordered her team. Now. As her team rushed out, she hesitated, quickly transferring her research data to a portable drive. This work was too important to lose. Back at the defense station, Everett and her crew fought desperately to mount a response. Return fire with all available weapons, she commanded. Helios Prime's defense cannons fired into space, but the alien vessels easily evaded the shots, their technology clearly superior. They've broken through the outer shield layer, reported Torres, his face grim. Everett grabbed the communication system. All colony residents, this is Commander Everett. This is not a drill. Proceed immediately to emergency shelters. I repeat, this is not a drill. On the ground, Torres directed evacuation efforts, helping frightened colonists reach safety. Above, the battle turned into a slaughter as defense platforms fell one by one. Governor, Everett said grimly, you need to send a distress call to Earth. Delacroix nodded, her earlier reluctance gone. She moved to the emergency quantum communication station, the colony's fastest link to Earth. This is Governor Natalie Delacroix of Helios Prime Colony. We are under attack by unknown forces, multiple ships of advanced design. Our defenses are failing. We request immediate military assistance. Another explosion rocked the station, lights flickering ominously. Shields at 14%, someone reported. Everett turned to the governor. Ma'ams, you need to get to a shelter. I'm staying. With respect, Governor, the colony will need leadership after this attack. We can't both be here if this station falls. Delacroix hesitated, then nodded. Keep transmitting data to Earth as long as you can. As the governor headed for the evacuation pod, another blast hit the station. Everett was thrown against a console, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. Commander, Torres called over the communication system. Most civilians are in shelters, but we're seeing ground forces landing in the western sector. They're not just bombarding us, Everett realized. They're invading. Outside Dr. Parker's research facility, sleek craft were landing. Strange figures in iridescent armor emerged, moving with disturbing precision toward the colony's key structures. Vivian watched from behind fallen debris as the aliens methodically made their way toward the research buildings. They know what they're looking for, she whispered to herself. With the portable drive clutched tightly, she crept away from her lab, keeping to the shadows. She needed to reach the shelters and warn the others. In the command center, Everett watched helplessly as the aliens systematically destroyed the colony's defenses. Send all data to Earth, she ordered as warning lights flashed around her. Make sure they know what happened here. The last transmission went out just as the command center's roof tore open. Everett looked up to see one of the alien ships hovering directly above, its weapons pointed downward. Her final thought was of Earth and whether it would be ready for what was coming. In the darkness of the underground shelter, Governor Delacroix received news of the defense station's destruction. Commander Everett and her brave crew were gone. What do they want? Someone asked in the crowded space. The governor had no answer, but elsewhere in the shelter complex, Dr. Parker was putting together the pieces. The aliens had targeted research sections first, going straight for data centers and communication hubs. They want our technology, she told Lieutenant Torres when he checked on civilians in her section, and I think I know which technology they're after. She held up the drive containing her quantum research. Torres studied the small device. Your experimental work. She nodded grimly. We have to get this information to Earth. Whatever these aliens are, they're not just here for conquest, they're hunting for something specific. Above them, the invaders, soon identified as the Krell, continued their methodical takeover of humanity's most advanced colony, unaware they had just set in motion events that would awaken forces long kept dormant, forces that even they might learn to fear. The distress call from Helios Prime reached Earth 14 hours after the attack began. Communications Officer Veronica Santos sat alone in the monitoring station when the quantum entanglement system activated with an urgent priority signal. The message was fragmented, filled with static, but Governor Delacroix's fear came through clearly. Under attack, unknown forces, advanced ships, defenses failing, immediate assistance required. Veronica's hands trembled as she hit the emergency alert button. Within minutes, Admiral Jerome Powell stormed into the room, still adjusting his uniform. Play it again, he ordered. After listening to the message twice, Powell's expression hardened to granite. Get me direct links to all other colonies, now. But as they attempted to contact humanity's other outposts, a disturbing pattern emerged. 4 more colonies had gone silent within the past day. This isn't random, Powell said quietly. It's coordinated. He turned to his aide. Call an emergency council meeting and contact Director Harlow from Special Weapons Division. 3 hours later, Earth's Defense Council gathered in the subterranean command center beneath the rebuilt ruins of Geneva. The atmosphere was tense as Admiral Powell finished briefing them on the attacks. 5 colonies hit simultaneously, he said. Helios Prime was the only one that managed to get a distress signal out. The others went dark without warning. What kind of force are we dealing with? Asked one of the civilian leaders. Unknown, Powell admitted. But they took out our most heavily defended colony in under an hour. That suggests technology far beyond our current capabilities. Director Fiona Harlow, head of Earth Special Weapons Division, spoke up. Admiral, what's your recommended response? I've already mobilized the fleet, Powell answered. But even at maximum speed, it will take our ships weeks to reach the attacked colonies. The council president leaned forward. Then what immediate options do we have? A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, an older man at the far end of the table cleared his throat. General Thomas Blackwood had been quiet until now, his weathered face looking even more aged under the harsh lights. There is one option, he said slowly, but it's classified beyond this room. Director Harlow's head snapped up. General, you can't be suggesting. I am, Blackwood cut her off. The council president looked between them. Would someone care to explain? General Blackwood activated a control panel, and the room darkened. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table showing what appeared to be a military facility built inside a massive cavern. Project Titan, Blackwood said, initiated 70 years ago after we discovered the alien artifact in the Kuiper Belt. Murmurs spread around the table. Most of you know we reverse-engineered some of that technology, Blackwood continued. What you don't know is that we did more than just study their weapons and propulsion systems. The hologram changed to show what looked like medical pods, each containing a human figure. We found a way to integrate that technology with human biology to create soldiers capable of fighting threats beyond our normal capabilities. Director Harlow stood up. These are human beings who volunteered for experimental procedures. The program was shut down because it was deemed too dangerous and ethically questionable. They weren't shut down, Blackwood corrected. They were preserved for exactly this kind of situation. The council president stared at the images. Are you saying we have super soldiers on ice somewhere? 8 of them, Blackwood confirmed. The best volunteers our military had to offer, enhanced with integrated alien technology. We call them the Titans. And you want to wake them up, Director Harlow said, her voice hard with disapproval. Blackwood nodded. They were created to defend humanity against advanced extraterrestrial threats. That threat is now here. Admiral Powell studied the hologram. Why haven't I heard about this? Need to know, Blackwood replied. The facility is hidden beneath the Atlantic seabed. Only 5 people on Earth knew about it until today. The council president rubbed his temples. These soldiers, these Titans, have been in stasis for how long? Almost 70 years, Blackwood answered. And if we wake them up now, will they be stable? Director Harlow cut in before Blackwood could answer. That's the problem, we don't know. The technology bonded with them in ways we didn't fully understand. That's why the program was officially discontinued. Blackwood's eyes narrowed. The Titans volunteered knowing the risks, and they're still our best chance of responding quickly to this attack. The room fell silent again as the council weighed their options. If we do nothing, Powell said finally, we risk losing more colonies before our fleet can even reach them. The president nodded slowly. General Blackwood, you have authorization to proceed with awakening the Titans. Director Harlow, I want you to oversee the process. Harlow's face tightened with disapproval, but she nodded. I'll need immediate transport to the Atlantic facility. 12 hours later, Director Harlow stood in a control room looking through reinforced glass at the stasis chamber below. Each pod was connected to a complex life support system that had kept its occupant in suspended animation for decades. Are you certain about this? She asked General Blackwood, who stood beside her. No, he admitted, but I'm sure about what happens if we do nothing. Harlow sighed and turned to Dr. Wesley Nakamura, the medical officer in charge of the facility. Start with just one. Let's see if the awakening process even works after all this time. Dr. Nakamura nodded and began the revival sequence for Pod 1. Warning lights flashed as the stasis field began to power down. Inside the pod, the still figure of a man began to show signs of life. Monitoring screens show normal revival patterns, Dr. Nakamura reported. No sign of rejection or system failure. The pod hissed open, releasing a cloud of cold vapor. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a hand gripped the edge of the pod. A man sat up slowly, his movements careful but steady. He was tall, muscular, with close-cropped silver hair. His eyes opened, revealing an unnatural golden glow around the pupils. Major Reed, General Blackwood said, stepping forward, welcome back. The man turned to look at Blackwood, his glowing eyes focusing with unsettling intensity. General, he said, his voice rough from disuse. Has it happened? Blackwood nodded grimly. Yes, Earth is under attack. Major Harrison Reed nodded once as if he had expected nothing less. He glanced at the other pods where his team still slept. Wake them, he said, all of them. As the medical team began the process of awakening the other Titans, Harlow watched with growing unease. They were playing with forces they didn't fully understand, awakening weapons that had been hidden away for good reason. But as reports continued to come in of colony after colony going silent, she knew they had no choice. Humanity needed its sleeping giants, whatever the cost might be. The facility hummed with activity as all 8 Titans were awakened from their decades-long sleep. Major Reed watched his team adjust to consciousness, his glowing eyes taking in every detail. Captain Olivia Winters was the second to awaken, a tall woman with piercing eyes and an analytical mind. She flexed her hands, watching as faint lines of light moved beneath her skin. 70 years, she said quietly to Reed. Do you think we're still human? Reed didn't answer immediately. That question had bothered him since the program began. Human enough to remember our mission, he finally replied. Dr. Nakamura moved between the Titans, checking vital signs and neural responses. The room filled with the quiet beeping of medical equipment. Their integration is holding stable, he reported to Director Harlow. The alien tech bonded to their cellular structure better than expected. Harlow frowned and their mental states. Clear and focused, Nakamura said. No signs of the aggression issues from the early trials. Still, Harlow noticed how the facility staff kept their distance from the Titans. There was something unsettling about them, something beyond their glowing eyes and the strange patterns that occasionally flashed beneath their skin. Lieutenant Takumi Ishida entered the room, looking nervous. The young pilot had been assigned to transport the Titans to the combat zone, and he clearly wasn't comfortable with his new passengers. The Phantom is ready for departure, he announced, avoiding direct eye contact with Reed. Major Reed nodded, "We'll be ready in 2 hours." As the Titans prepared for deployment, Captain Winters pulled Reed aside. "I don't trust these people," she said in a low voice. "Blackwood is using us just like he did before." "We knew what we signed up for," Reed reminded her. "Did we? They told us we'd be Earth's shield, not that they'd freeze us until they needed living weapons." Reed looked at his second in command. "Earth is under attack, that's all that matters now." Winters didn't look convinced, but she nodded and returned to her preparations. On Helios Prime, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. The aliens, now identified as the Krell by the colonists who had intercepted their communications, had established complete control of the surface. Most humans were confined to designated areas, while others remained hidden in the deeper shelter levels. Dr. Vivian Parker led one of these hidden resistance groups. Her laboratory knowledge had helped them bypass the colony's security systems, which the Krell now controlled. "They're moving equipment into the research sector," reported Lieutenant Torres, who had become her most reliable scout. Vivian nodded. "Are they still focusing on the quantum labs?" "Yes, whatever they're looking for, it's related to our drive systems." In their makeshift command center, established in an old maintenance tunnel, Vivian studied the data they had collected. The Krell were methodically extracting all information related to Earth's experimental quantum-fold drive. "It doesn't make sense," she muttered. "If their technology is advanced enough to defeat our defenses so easily, why would they care about our propulsion research?" "Maybe they're afraid of it," Torres suggested. Vivian looked up. "Afraid? Why would they fear technology that's inferior to theirs?" Before Torres could answer, one of their lookouts rushed in. "Governor Delacroix is being moved," the young woman reported breathlessly. "The aliens are taking her to the Central Administration Building." "They must want something from her," Torres frowned. "Or they're using her as bait to draw us out," Vivian said. Either way, they needed to know what was happening. Vivian made a quick decision. "Set up surveillance on the admin building. We need to hear what they're saying to her." Back on Earth, the Phantom stealth ship prepared for departure. The sleek black vessel was Earth's most advanced spacecraft, designed specifically to transport the Titans. Major Reed stood in the ship's armory, examining the weapons laid out before him. Standard firearms would be useless against an enemy with superior technology. Instead, the Titans would rely on the weapons integrated into their own bodies. Reed raised his arm, watching as the skin and muscle restructured themselves, forming what looked like an organic cannon built into his forearm. It glowed with the same golden light as his eyes. "Still gets me every time you do that," said Lieutenant Ishida from the doorway. Reed lowered his arm, the weapon melting back into normal flesh. "You get used to it," he said, though that wasn't entirely true. Even after all the modifications, the feeling of his body transforming still felt alien to him. "We're ready for launch," Ishida said. "Admiral Powell wants a final briefing." In the Phantom's communication room, Admiral Powell's hologram addressed the Titan team. His face looked haggard, the strain of the past 48 hours evident in the deep lines around his eyes. "The situation has deteriorated further," he reported grimly. "We've lost contact with 3 more colonies. The enemy is moving faster than we anticipated." "What are our orders?" Reed asked, standing at parade rest despite 70 years in suspended animation. "Your primary mission is reconnaissance and rescue. Get to Helios Prime, assess the enemy's capabilities, and extract any survivors you can, especially research personnel. Captain Winters stepped forward. With respect, Admiral, we weren't designed for rescue operations, we're weapons. Powell's expression hardened. Your soldiers, Captain, and soldiers follow orders. After the briefing ended, Dr. Nakamura conducted final checks on the Titan systems. As he examined Reed, he spoke quietly so others couldn't hear. The integration technology is still experimental, he warned. Extensive use of your abilities could cause cellular degradation. How extensive? Reed asked. Nakamura hesitated. We don't know. The simulations suggest you have limits, but we never got to test them because they put us on ice, Reed finished for him. The doctor nodded. Just be careful, your bodies are still human even with the modifications. An hour later, the Phantom broke Earth's atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems already active. As the blue planet shrank behind them, Reed looked at his team, 8 soldiers modified with technology humanity barely understood, heading to fight an enemy they knew nothing about. This is what we were made for, he told them as they gathered in the ship's briefing room. Whatever these aliens want from our colonies, we're going to make them regret coming after humanity. On Helios Prime, Governor Delacroix stood before a tall, spindly figure whose body seemed to shift between solid and translucent states. The Krell commander's voice was a strange combination of mechanical sounds and something almost musical. You will provide access to all research on quantum-fold propulsion, the alien said. Delacroix stood her ground. I've told you that research is theoretical, we have no working prototypes. The alien's form rippled with what might have been anger. Your species does not understand what it is developing. You are playing with forces that will bring death to this entire sector. Unknown to either of them, Vivian's surveillance device captured every word. In her hidden base, she listened with growing concern. They're not after our technology to use it, she realized. They're trying to stop us from using it. Tors frowned, but why? Before Vivian could answer, another scout burst in. Unidentified ship approaching the colony, it's not Krell design. Across the colony, Krell alert systems began to sound. The counterattack had begun. The Phantom ship slipped through the outer defenses of Helios Prime without detection. Lieutenant Ishida's skilled piloting and the vessel's advanced stealth technology kept them invisible to the Krell scanners. From the command deck, Major Reed watched the alien ships patrolling above the colony. Their technology is unlike anything in our records, he said, but there's something familiar about the energy signatures. Captain Winters nodded. I was thinking the same thing, it's similar to our own modifications. Reed turned to the ship's communication officer. Any response to our encrypted signal? Yes, sir, we're receiving coordinates for a landing zone. Looks like someone's still fighting down there. The Phantom descended through the colony's thin atmosphere, landing in a hidden ravine 2 miles from the main settlement. As the ship's ramp lowered, the Titans readied themselves for their first real combat mission. Remember, Reed told his team, we're not here to start a war. Reconnaissance first, then contact any resistance, assess the situation, and plan accordingly. Captain Winters checked her weapon systems one last time. And if we encounter heavy resistance? Reed's eyes glowed brighter. Then we show them why waking us was their biggest mistake. On the colony surface, Dr. Vivian Parker and Lieutenant Tors led a small team to meet the Earth ship. They moved carefully through maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the colony, avoiding Krell patrols. Do you really think Earth sent help already? Tors asked as they crawled through a narrow passage. It's only been 6 days since the attack. Vivian shook her head. Either they had a response team very close or they sent something very fast. Either way, I'm not complaining. When they finally reached the ravine, they were surprised to find only 8 individuals waiting for them. Even more surprising was their appearance. Tall, imposing figures with eyes that glowed in the dim light. Dr. Parker, their leader asked, stepping forward. Yes, Vivian replied cautiously. Who are you? Major Harrison Reed, Earth sent us to help. Vivian stared at them, just 8 of you. We're a special response unit, Reed replied simply. Tors studied them with barely concealed suspicion. What kind of special? Instead of answering, Reed raised his arm. Before their eyes, his skin rippled and transformed. reshaping into what appeared to be a weapon fused with his flesh. The kind that was created to fight exactly this type of threat, he said. Back in their underground base, Vivian briefed the Titans on the situation while her team stared at the newcomers with a mixture of awe and unease. The Krell have complete control of the surface, she explained, pointing to a makeshift map. They're systematically stripping our research facilities of all data related to quantum fold technology. Why that specific technology? Asked Lieutenant Julia Chen, the Titan's technical specialist. Vivian shared the recording of the conversation between Governor Delacroix and the Krell commander. They seem afraid of it, though I can't understand why. Our quantum fold drive is still theoretical. We're years away from a working prototype. Reed and Winters exchanged glances. Maybe not as theoretical as you think, Reed said. The technology that makes us what we are came from similar principles. You're saying you're powered by quantum fold technology? Vivian asked, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the situation. Not exactly, Captain Winters replied, but the alien artifact that gave us our abilities operated on similar principles. The scientists who studied it called it dimensional bridging. A sudden commotion at the entrance to their hideout interrupted the conversation. A resistance fighter burst in breathless. Krell patrols are sweeping this sector. They're using some kind of new scanning technology. We need to move. Reed made a quick decision. Dr. Parker, gather your essential personnel and data. We're extracting you to the Phantom. What about the other colonists? Torres demanded. We can't just leave them. We're not, Reed assured him. But we need Dr. Parker's research to understand what we're dealing with. Captain Winters will lead the extraction team. The rest of us will create a diversion. As they prepared to move, Vivian pulled Reed aside. There's something else you should know. The Krell are planning to move Governor Delacroix off-world tomorrow. If they take her, we lose our highest-ranking official. Reed nodded, then we'll have to move tonight. The plan came together quickly. While Captain Winters and 3 other Titans would escort Dr. Parker and her team to the Phantom, Reed would lead the remaining Titans on a rescue mission to free Governor Delacroix. As darkness fell over the colony, Reed's team moved through the shadows toward the administrative center where Delacroix was being held. They encountered their first Krell patrol at the edge of the plaza. The aliens moved with eerie precision, their translucent forms glowing faintly in the darkness. Reed signaled his team to hold position, studying the enemy's movements. Sergeant Wallace, he whispered to the demolitions specialist, create a distraction at the north perimeter. Wallace nodded, his eyes glowing blue instead of golden like Reed's. Each Titan's enhancement had manifested slightly differently. Wallace slipped away, moving with surprising stealth for his size. Minutes later, a series of explosions rocked the northern edge of the plaza. As the Krell rushed toward the disturbance, Reed led his team forward. They encountered resistance at the building's entrance, 4 Krell guards wielding energy weapons. Before the aliens could react, the Titans struck. Reed's arm transformed into the cannon configuration, firing a concentrated burst of golden energy that dropped 2 guards instantly. Beside him, Lieutenant Ishida moved with enhanced speed, becoming almost a blur as he engaged the 3rd guard. The 4th alien raised its weapon, but Corporal Rodriguez was faster. The veins in her arms glowed with brilliant light as she projected an energy shield that absorbed the Krell's blast. She then reversed the energy flow, sending it back at the stunned alien. The skirmish lasted less than 30 seconds. Move, Reed ordered, leading the way into the building. They found Governor Delacroix in a secure room on the top floor, guarded by more Krell. The aliens fought fiercely, their weapons causing even the enhanced Titans to stagger, but ultimately their resistance was futile. As Reed helped the governor to her feet, she stared at him in wonder and fear. What are you? Humanity's response, he answered simply. Meanwhile, Captain Winter's extraction team encountered heavier resistance than expected. A Krell patrol had discovered one of their safe routes, forcing them to take a more dangerous path through the colony's manufacturing district. Stay close, Winters ordered Dr. Parker and her team as they ducked through abandoned factories. A Krell ship passed overhead, its searchlight sweeping the area. The group froze, pressing against a wall. The light passed over them once, then returned, lingering. They've spotted us, Lieutenant Chen whispered. Winters made a split-second decision. Get them to the extraction point, she told the other Titans. I'll draw them off. Before anyone could argue, Winters stepped into the open, her body beginning to glow with intense energy. The Krell ship immediately focused on her. "What is she doing?" Vivian asked in horror. "Giving us a chance," Chen replied, pulling her along. "We need to move now." Behind them, Captain Winters unleashed the full power of her enhancements. Her body became a beacon of golden light as she fired blast after blast at the Krell ship. The vessel's shields flickered under the assault, but more ships were converging on her position. As Dr. Parker's group reached the edge of the ravine where the Phantom waited, they heard the explosion. Turning, they saw a column of fire rising from the manufacturing district. "Captain Winters," Chen whispered, her glowing eyes dimming momentarily in what might have been grief. The extraction team made it to the Phantom just as Reed's group arrived with Governor Delacroix. The governor immediately noticed someone was missing. "Your second in command?" she asked. Reed's face remained impassive, but his eyes flared brighter for an instant. She completed her mission. As they prepared for departure, Lieutenant Ishida reported, "Major, the Krell are mobilizing their entire fleet. They know we're here now." Reed nodded grimly. Then it's time they learned exactly what they're dealing with. He turned to Dr. Parker. "You said your research was theoretical, but the Krell are terrified of it. I need to know everything about quantum fold technology now." Vivian hesitated only briefly before pulling out her data drive. "This contains all my research. But Major, if what your captain said is true, if your enhancements operate on similar principles, then activating a quantum fold field could have unpredictable effects on your team." Reed's expression didn't change. "We were unpredictable to begin with, Doctor. Now let's show the Krell why they should have left humanity alone." Aboard the Phantom, Dr. Parker worked frantically to integrate her research with the ship's systems. The vessel shuddered as it evaded Krell pursuit craft. Lieutenant Ishida's piloting skills pushed to their limits. "3 minutes until we break atmosphere," Ishida called from the cockpit. "They're closing from all sides." In the ship's laboratory, Vivian connected her data drive to the main console. Governor Delacroix watched anxiously over her shoulder. "Will this actually work?" the governor asked. "Theoretically," Vivian replied, her fingers flying across the interface. "My research suggests quantum fold technology could create localized dimensional rifts, but we never had the power source to test it." Major Reed stood nearby, his enhanced body occasionally rippling with golden energy. "You do now." Lieutenant Torres looked between them, confusion evident on his face. "I don't understand. What exactly are you planning?" "The Krell fear this technology for a reason," Reed explained. "We're going to show them that fear is justified." On the tactical display, dozens of Krell vessels converged on their position. The Phantom stealth systems were overwhelmed by the sheer number of scanners focused on their sector. "Major," Ishida called out, "we have a problem. They're forming a blockade in orbit. We can't break through without engaging directly." Reed made his decision. "Dr. Parker, how soon can you have the quantum fold generator operational?" "10 minutes, maybe less." "You have 5, Reed turned to his team. "Titans, prepare for external deployment." Governor Delacroix stepped forward. "You're going outside during atmospheric exit." "Our enhancements allow us to survive in vacuum for limited periods," Reed explained. "We'll draw their fire while the Phantom makes its escape." "That's suicide," Torres protested. Reed's expression remained impassive. "We were designed for this. Lieutenant Ishida, open the cargo bay when we reach 20,000 meters." The remaining Titans began preparations, their bodies glowing more intensely as they activated their full enhancements for the first time since awakening. Sergeant Wallace approached Reed privately. "Sir, without Captain Winters, the synchronization will be unstable," he warned. "I know," Reed acknowledged. "We'll compensate." Dr. Parker looked up from her work. "Major, I've been analyzing the data from your medical scans. The quantum resonance in your enhancements is tuned to specific frequencies. If you all activate simultaneously near a quantum fold field." "What would happen?" Reed asked. "I don't know," she admitted, "but the energy release would be catastrophic." Reed nodded as if this confirmed something he already suspected. "That's what we're counting on." The Phantom reached 20,000 meters, the curvature of Helios Prime visible through the viewports. Above them, the Krell blockade waited, 15 warships arranged in a formation designed to prevent any escape. Approaching deployment altitude, Ishida announced. Reed gathered his team for final instructions. Our objective is to create enough disruption for the Phantom to escape. Once clear, Lieutenant Ishida will execute a short-range jump to the rally point. Dr. Parker's quantum fold generator should provide enough energy for one transit. And us? Asked Corporal Rodriguez. Reed met her gaze steadily. We complete the mission. Understanding passed between the Titans. None expected to return. Cargo bay depressurizing, Ishida reported. As the bay doors opened, the vacuum of near space rushed in. The Titans stood unaffected, their enhanced physiology adapting instantly. One by one, they activated their most powerful configurations. Their skin hardened into armor-like plating, veins glowing with intense light, eyes blazing like small suns. Reed was the last to transform. His entire body became a conduit for the alien energy that had been fused with his cellular structure 70 years ago. Golden light poured from his eyes and traced patterns across his skin. For Earth, he said simply, then launched himself into the void. The 6 Titans spread out, propelling themselves through space using controlled energy bursts. The Krell ships immediately detected them, energy weapons charging. Now they see us, Wallace commented through the tactical link. Let's give them something to remember. The Titans attacked with everything they had. Rodriguez created energy shields that deflected Krell weapons' fire back at their sources. Chen hacked into their navigation systems, causing 2 vessels to collide. Wallace targeted weak points in the ship's structures, his energy blasts precisely calculated for maximum damage. Reed moved among them like a comet, his enhanced body radiating destructive power. Where he passed, Krell ships suffered catastrophic system failures. Aboard the Phantom, those watching were stunned into silence. I'd heard the stories about Project Titan, Governor Delacroix whispered. I never believed them. Dr. Parker barely looked up from her work. The quantum fold generator is at 60%, 4 minutes to activation. The battle in space intensified. The Krell, recovering from their initial surprise, coordinated their attacks. Energy beams lanced between ships, creating a deadly web that caught Corporal Rodriguez. Her shields flared brilliantly before failing. Her light went out. They're adapting to our attack patterns, Chen reported, her voice strained. Reed observed the tactical situation with cold precision. They destroyed 4 Krell ships and damaged 3 others, but it wasn't enough. The blockade still held. Wallace Chen, he ordered, converge on my position. Initiate Protocol Omega. In the Phantom, Dr. Parker suddenly straightened. The quantum resonance, it's changing. They're synchronizing their energy signatures. What does that mean? Torres demanded. It means they're about to do something monumentally dangerous, she replied, hands flying across her console. The quantum fold generator is at 85%. I can channel additional power from the ship's systems. Lieutenant Ishida called from the cockpit. The Krell are concentrating fire on the Titans. They know something's happening. In space, Reed, Wallace, and Chen formed a triangular formation. Their bodies pulsed in perfect unison, creating a resonance field that grew stronger with each cycle. The Krell intensified their attack, sensing the danger. Chen fell next, a concentrated beam penetrating her defenses. With her last strength, she maintained the resonance pattern before her light faded. It's just us now, Wallace said to Reed. It's enough, Reed replied. The 2 remaining Titans pushed their enhancements beyond all safety limits. Their bodies began to deteriorate under the strain, cellular structures breaking down as they channeled more energy than they were designed to contain. Inside the Phantom, alarms blared. Quantum fold generator at full capacity, Dr. Parker shouted. The resonance field from the Titans is amplifying it exponentially. What's happening? Governor Delacroix demanded as the ship's viewport polarized to maximum. They're creating a dimensional rift, Vivian explained, awe in her voice. A tear in spacetime itself. Outside, the space between Reed and Wallace began to distort. Light bent around them, stars seeming to stretch and twist. The Krell ships attempted to retreat, finally understanding the threat. Too late, Wallace gasped, his body starting to disintegrate from the energy he was channeling. Reed maintained the synchronization as his fellow Titan faded, his own body reaching critical limits. For Earth, he repeated, then unleashed everything he had left. The dimensional rift exploded outward. a sphere of reality-warping energy that engulfed the entire Krell blockade. Ships caught in its expansion simply ceased to exist, their matter reconfigured at the quantum level. The shockwave hit the Phantom with tremendous force. "Brace for impact," Ishida yelled as he wrestled with the controls. Dr. Parker barely had time to activate the quantum fold drive before the wave reached them. The ship shuddered violently, systems overloading. Then reality seemed to fold around them. For a moment that felt both instantaneous and eternal, the Phantom existed in a space between spaces. Then they emerged, the stars around them suddenly different. "Jump complete," Ishida reported, his voice shaky. We're at the rally point, 20 million kilometers from Helios Prime." On the sensors where the Krell blockade had been, there was now only emptiness, a perfect sphere of nothing that defied conventional physics. "The Titans?" Torres asked, though he already knew the answer. Dr. Parker checked her instruments. "Gone. They poured everything they had into creating that rift. No organic matter could survive that level of quantum disruption." Governor Delacroix moved to the viewport, staring at the distant anomaly that marked their sacrifice. "They knew, didn't they, what would happen when they synchronized like that?" "I think they always knew," Vivian replied softly. "It was why they were created." In the days that followed, the Phantom limped back to Earth, carrying the survivors and the data they'd gathered. The quantum anomaly that had destroyed the Krell blockade remained stable, a permanent reminder of humanity's desperate defense. Admiral Powell greeted them upon their return, his face solemn as he received their report. "The Krell have withdrawn from our outer colonies," he informed them. "It seems the destruction of their fleet at Helios Prime caused them to reassess their strategy." "Or they fear what else we might have," Dr. Parker suggested. Powell nodded. "General Blackwood wants to speak with you. Your research on quantum fold technology, combined with what we've learned from the Titan program, could be the key to a new defense system." Vivian hesitated. The Titans gave their lives to stop the Krell.